Former President Donald Trump has now revealed at least part of his plan to go full authoritarian if he wins in 2024. So in this video, I will detail 3 specific examples that are not only in this New York Times piece, but also on his actual campaign website. This stuff is public. So keep in mind, this is what he's saying publicly. Imagine what they have planned privately that they are not yet willing to speak on because they may think it's too extreme to showcase publicly. The first thing that comes to mind for me is term limits. I would be shocked. First of all, if Trump wins, I'd be shocked again. But if he wins and doesn't go through with a plan to eliminate term limits, that would be the most shocking thing. Because you have to assume at this point, if this is what they're talking about publicly, term limits are absolutely on the table. So first here with the New York Times headline, since they sort of broke the story, but this is all public knowledge now with Trump's website, so I'll get to that as well. But their headline here, Trump and allies forge plans to increase presidential power in 2025. The former president and his backers aim to strengthen the power of the White House and limit the independence of federal agencies. This is the most neutral way to say this in typical New York Times fashion, because this is absolutely something to be concerned about. And while I'm reading through some of these details, imagine if it was about Joe Biden and stuff that he is saying. Imagine how right-wing media, be it Fox News, be it, Ben Shapiro, Daily Wire, Crowder, all these clowns, how they would be reacting to this. But it's Trump, so they're either going to ignore it or they're going to talk it up. So first, just to summarize the entire thing here, Trump and his associates have a broader goal to alter the balance of power by increasing the president's authority over every part of the federal government that now operates by either law or tradition, with any measure of independence from political interference by the White House. So Trump essentially, there's no way around it. He wants to be a dictator. He wants full control over what government is doing, even if it's not under his current role as president. He wants the final say on anything getting through, whether it's funding, whether it's what specific agencies are doing with their power and their independence. He wants the final say over everything. So, first example here. The agenda being pursued has deep roots in the decades-long effort by conservative legal thinkers to undercut what has become known as the administrative state, agencies that enact regulations aimed at keeping the air and water clean and food, drugs, and consumer products safe, but that cut into business profits. This is a very important point to note here. Trump, and really, for me, it's not even really necessarily about Trump, as we'll get to later on at the end of this video. It's more about the conservative mindset and who is around Trump and what their interests are. It's all about business profits. If there is any regulation that is cutting into business profits in any way, they're going to attempt to eliminate that regulation, even if that is there to help people and keep society safe. Their focus is increasing business profits. Now, as I said, all of this is on Trump's website now. President Trump will bring the independent regulatory agencies such as the FCC and the FTC back under presidential authority as the Constitution demands. So, of course, he's trying to play, of course I'm going to do this because the Constitution demands that I have this kind of power. No longer will unelected members of the Washington Swamp be allowed to act as the fourth branch of our republic. So these, he uses the FCC and FTC as 2 examples, but he wants complete control over these independent bodies, the final say on everything that they do. Another example here. Mr. Trump has also vowed to impound funds or refuse to spend money appropriated by Congress. After Nixon used the practice to aggressively block agency spending he was opposed to on water pollution control, housing construction, and other issues, Congress banned the tactic. So Trump now wants to have final say over where all the money's going. So, and again, this is on the website. President Trump will take action to challenge the constitutionality of limits placed on the impoundment power by the Congressional Budget and Impoundment Control Act of 1974, which again is what they put in place because of Nixon. the source of Congress's usurpation of executive branch powers. Just the whole framing here, like Congress has usurped the power of the executive branch, so we're going to take it back, is a very creative way of saying Trump wants to be a dictator. President Trump also worked with Congress to overturn the limits of the CBA. And in the passing of CBA, Congress handcuffed the president from preventing wasteful spending. All of congressional control is supposed to be at least a closer representation of democracy. Having a single person, having the president and ultimately his advisors and those around him decide what is and isn't wasteful spending is in itself an authoritarian measure. Another example here. This is the third example. He intends to strip employment protections from tens of thousands of career civil servants, making it easier to replace them if they are deemed obstacles to his agenda. And he plans to scour the intelligence agencies, the State Department, and the defense bureaucracies to remove officials he has vilified as the sick political class that hates our country. So he essentially wants to fire anyone in government that doesn't agree with what he's doing. How do you not view this as anything except an authoritarian measure? And again, imagine this is Biden saying this. I'll get to the site in a second. Imagine this is Biden saying any of these things, and the reaction, and what the reaction would be from right-wing media. But from Trump's site here, first, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively. So Biden came in. So this was issued in Trump's final year. He didn't, from what I was reading, he didn't utilize it the way that he had wanted to, because there are people around him that were still trying to, warn him on what is legal, what isn't legal, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. But now Trump feels like he has the full authority, if he wins again, would have the full authority to fire whoever the hell he wants. He would bring back this order that he issued in his final year, and he would wield it very aggressively. He's openly saying, I will fire anyone who doesn't agree with me, who isn't, not even doesn't agree with me, who isn't, directly serving my agenda, who isn't kissing my ass. They'll be fired. So, again, this is stuff he's talking about publicly. Now, you may wonder, what is the background to all of this? So the two driving forces of this effort to reshape the executive branch are Mr. Trump's own campaign policy shop and a well-funded network of conservative groups, many of which are populated by former senior Trump administration officials who would most likely play key roles in any second term. But on top of that, this doesn't appear to be just about Trump. Trump right now is the one that's talking about this stuff publicly, is being very open about it. But these sorts of ideas are also going to be recommended to any Republican president. So that gets to this last piece here. So they mentioned Mr. Voigt and Mr. McEntee, who right now are a part of this plan, are involved in Project 2025, a $22 million presidential transition operation that is preparing policies, personnel lists, and transition plans to recommend to any Republican who may win the 2024 election. So it isn't just Trump. Or I should say, publicly right now, it is just Trump that is being very specific about all of this. But in terms of the recommendations, they're still going to recommend this to anyone who becomes the nominee or who becomes president. This is the fact that Trump is being as open about this right now as he is, to me, is the most worrying aspect. Because if this is what he's open about, just imagine what he has planned in private.